Back after quite some time, we're back again for another commentary, this time for yet another 2-deck VGCS, which is actually the same VGCS as last time, except that this time it's the 3rd edition of it, which is the GiFT VGCS. So this is going to be in the 2-deck format once again. If you don't know what 2-deck format is, I have a whole video explaining how it works and how everything kind of goes on in it, so take a look at that before watching this. I think that'll help you understand what's happening, but if you have, then welcome. Today we're taking a look at the Malaysian scene once again with two relatively fresh names as well. You know, we don't have our usual, Ryan Kai or anything at the top table this time. So on the left we have Marcus Lowe, and on the right we have Jerome Henq. So Marcus, we can see, is playing the tried and tested OTT, which is going to be his first deck pick. I'm going to keep the second deck a secret until he actually does switch into it. Whereas Jerome on the right side is playing Bermudas, and a Bermuda variant that I think is quite surprising to some people, but is definitely, something you can expect to see at a big standard event, but it's not the most common type either. So Marcus here, he used the grade 1 skill to Soul Blast 1 and check the top 5 for a grade 3, and then if you find it, you put it at the top of the deck, but if you don't, you just shuffle those 5 cards and stack them on the bottom. So there's that. So Jerome rides up to grade 1 and then gets a crit. We see a heal come down, but sadly not in the right order as you would have wished. Oh, unfortunately Marcus doesn't have the grade 2 and he wishes to not actually G-assist for it, which is quite interesting. Here we can see that Jerome does hit the draw. I wonder why Marcus didn't G-assist for the grade 2 there, because I feel like it would have been relatively good, because going first with OTT does help you keep up with momentum, especially in a pretty hard matchup such as Bermuda. So here he's gonna, he's like switching the 2 grade 2s, he's not sure which one he wants to ride and which one he wants to call. The thing with, okay, I'm gonna give it away now, this is the Highlander Bermuda build. The thing with Highlander Bermuda is that you usually play one of each card, except for obviously triggers. So he rides the Saria, which is the one that increases or decreases power to match the Vanguard, and then, he gets the heal, sadly doesn't go off, but pushes Marcus to 4 damage already, only on turn 2. It looks like Marcus does draw into the Mega's grade 2 to ride up, but feels a little bit late, doesn't it? I think, just a little, he waited just a little bit too late, I think. He could have definitely just G-assisted and then made up the disadvantage with something like CEO Matarasu later. Also, the one thing here that we can see is that Jerome does play the Deus or whatever her name was, the grade 2 with 8k body, which is like, she's a great card because she, powers up with every grade 3 that you have, but on the flip side, she's an 8k body by default, so if you don't have any grade 3s, she's going to be easy to snipe for grade 1s. So here we can see that Jerome does ride into the Serena, which, isn't really doing too much. She can counterblast 3 to salvage 3 cards from your drop zone, but that's not really, worth using. It's just like her other ability is just to give you an extra draw, but I feel like out of all the VRs in the set, she's actually arguably the weakest, and I've seen that most Melody decks don't even play her. So Jerome does call down the Sonata on the side though. I feel like Sonata is the better right target here too, just because with Sonata you have the 100% +1, because you're usually running, at least even in Highlander you're going to run the 6 grade 3s usually, and so you're going to be able to actually, you're going to be able to get one of the Melody cards in your deck at least. Here we notice that Marcus made one glaring mistake, and I'm sure, it's been a long day, a lot of matches, a lot of stress. He forgot to add the Protect marker to his hand when he rode the CEO Matarasu. So I'm sure he realized that later, but in the moment he did forget that, and that is something that the judges should have pointed out, I think. And he drive checks into 2 grade 3s. See, like if he had a Protect marker there, which he should normally, that would be much better. And now Jerome, he's going to ride into the Arena, which is one of the Highlander cards, which is going to be huge because on ride he gets a Force, and he can reveal the top 10 cards. And if all of the normal units found there are different, then he gets to restand with her after the battle finishes. And as we can see, every single normal unit is indeed different, therefore he gets the restand skill. And with Marcus being on 4 damage, this is going to be really huge, because that restand might actually punish him and like take the whole game. And especially because Marcus forgot to add the Protect. If he did take the Protect, I think he could easily survive this, depending on the triggers that Jerome gets. But forgetting that Protect there is actually pretty huge. So you can see Jerome calls down a Kagero just to pump up the grade 3s and give them the boost ability. And then he's gonna get, wait, did he actually get a trigger? Didn't notice that there. But regardless, Marcus is taking the attack attack. I mean, I'm guessing he's not able to guard this because, oh, there's a draw there as well. So, you know, Marcus isn't able to guard the attack. There's 2 force markers under the grade 4 as well, and he's just going to take that, hope for the heal, but sadly doesn't get it. That's the end of game 1. Pretty, like, it's exciting from Jerome's side, but pretty disappointing for Marcus because not only did he, you know, not ride up to grade 2 or G assist, he also forgot to get the protect marker, you know. I wonder if it's just kind of the nerves or if it's like the pressure from playing the whole day. I should mention, you can see this in the background actually on the table, but the first place does receive a Nintendo Switch, which is a huge prize. So obviously you've got a lot of nerves coming into this, you know, you're pretty nervous, pretty stressed, you know, you've had a long day. Playing Swiss, you know, not best of 1, you're playing best of 3 with 2 different decks, you have to have mastered 2 different decks. It's pretty taxing on the mind, you know, if you're used to just playing best of 1 standard with your one-trick pony kind of deck, it's obviously going to be a lot more stressful coming into this, playing 2 different decks to their maximum, and having to, you know, just kind of play out this whole thing. So, it is pretty stressful in my opinion, but I'm sure that Marcus can bounce back. So Marcus, with the rules of the 2-deck format, has to stay with OTT as he did lose with it, or well, he doesn't have to stay with it, he could choose to switch here I believe, but the winner of the match always has to switch their deck because the objective of 2-deck format is that you have to win with both decks. So Jerome here has switched now, so we don't know what his deck is just yet, so we're going to find out in just a moment, but for now we can see that Marcus is going to ride up into the Circle Magus, and Jerome reveals the Kagero starter. So he rides into Sable Dragonute, and he's going to call down another Sable Dragonute, and then he's going to check a Neoflame. So yes, folks, this is indeed with the new VEBO6 support. We're going to see the Great coming in here. So, oh, Marcus has to G-assist here once again, this time for the grade 2. Like I said, going second, you definitely want to be doing this, especially against Kagero, but, you know, this is pretty good. And he also gets to find the 12k grade 2, which is kind of good, because at least that way, like, compared to, you know, fighting Force normally, he actually has to force his opponent to, like, he can't commit with rear guards, and he has to, like, keep that booster there behind the Vanguard to actually hit. So that's pretty important. So he G-assisted, he got what he wanted, he gets the crit too, so that's definitely good as well. And we see the grade 1 that pumps up, that retires itself to give your Vanguard plus 15k, which is a pretty spicy card for waterfall decks. But, you know, all the new cards for Kagero are looking super good. I'm actually really excited for the new support myself. He goes into the Dragon Knight Armored Buster, and so he's going to be able to Soul Blast 2 and check the top 7 for an Overlord and retire something, but there is nothing to retire. Here he gets just the regular Overlord. That's a bit unfortunate, but I'm personally thinking that, like, with the new Overlord support, I feel like you don't necessarily need to play the old Overlord. I would prefer to just play for the Great 4 Waterfall. That kind of deck, I think it's just as good, because even if you're first riding the Great, you're still getting a +1 in terms of just calling out the Neoflame. So we can see Jerome gets a heal, it's pretty huge, he puts the power on the Neoflame, and then Marcus is just going to guard that since he also got a defensive trigger. So here, Marcus will not forget the Protect. Very good. He gets the CO Amaterasu with the Protect. He's going to call down the grade 1 once again to Soul Blast 1, check the top 5, and be able to stack a grade 3 on top of the deck. He gets an Imperial Daughter. That's very good, because here he's going to be able to use CO Amaterasu's skill to draw 1 card and then leave the other card that's on top of the deck either at the top or the bottom. So here he draws into that Imperial Daughter that he just saw, and I was going to be able to check the top deck, and he's going to leave it at the bottom. So wonder what that was, but probably not a trigger. He's going to be able to swing for 10k, because the grade 1 does gain a 2k bonus boost of power, and so Jerome is debating on intercepting with the Neoflame, because if he intercepts, obviously if he rides the Great next turn, he would be able to just call it back out, which is the main, you know, nice little on-ride +1 that the Great has. So Jerome's going to 2 to pass that, drops a heal for it, but Marcus does not see any triggers and stays at his 17k power, so that's going to be it for that turn. And we can see Jerome is going to ride into the normal Overlord, getting that Force marker with the Great's artwork on it. You know, I feel like these, like, common Force markers are getting more and more beautiful with each set release, because I think the Overlord ones looks really good. So yeah, like, this is a pretty good turn for him. He hasn't used his Sable Dragonute yet. Ooh, he calls down the Burnout, which is going to be able to actually, you know, pop the grade 1 if he wants to, but he could also keep that on the field if he wants to slap it with the Unknown. Okay, he's going to use the Burnout, he's going to counterblast 1, and he's able to return a grade 2 or higher, I believe, to the bottom of the deck. So he returns the Full Armor Buster, and then he's able to also retire, obviously, the grade 1 there as well. So that's pretty huge. So he uses the ammo to countercharge 1 and draw 1, and then uses the Sable Dragon Newt to also draw 1 by retiring it. Some people were complaining they wish that Dragon Newt would just like go into the soul or something instead of being retired. It is a bit unfortunate that that's how it is, but you know, it's not the biggest of deals. And here we can see Jerome gets a crit and also the Great. He also has 2 Airmos on the board, which is pretty huge. You know, OTT can't touch that, so that's also pretty good for him. And then we're going to see how Marcus is going to combat this, because we can see that Jerome does want to push. He does want to give him at least 1 counterblast here, but he does. What's interesting is that Marcus did guard the Neo Flame, but he took the burnout, you know, with the crit. But I think it's pretty obvious why he took that, because now he's able to counterblast 1 for the Imperial Daughter, and then if he has, let's say, like the grade 2 Magus that can counterblast 1, soul blast 1 to look at top 2 and add 1 to hand, you know, that's another use of the counterblast that he could potentially do. On top of that, you know, OTT does usually play the Gemini these days as well, just because a lot of cards counterblast now, and so they actually do appreciate that CC to some extent. So Marcus is debating on his next move, but he did write up the Imperial, he did get that plus 15k plus 1 crit, he also got a little plus 1 to his hand. There comes down the Magus to counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and he's going to be able to check the top 2, one of them going to hand, the other one going on top of the deck. So let's see, he drew, ooh, that was another Imperial Daughter, so he's ready for next turn as well. That's definitely good news for him. So 27k swinging. He doesn't use Imperial Daughter's other skill, I believe, which soul blast 1 for a plus 6k to something, but I guess he's been using the soul pretty extensively so far, so there isn't, I don't think there's actually any soul to be used. So Jerome looking to drop a 2 to pass here. He's probably debating, you know, doesn't want to risk it too much, but I think when you're at 1 damage, you're not risking that much either. And we've already seen some crits come down from Marcus's side too. There was one in damage, one he G-assisted, and then, you know, maybe Jerome still remembers parts of Marcus's hand from the G-assist, so we'll see how this comes down. But Jerome is considering guarding some more. But let's see, okay, he drops the Kimnara and also the Neo Flame. I understand the Neo Flame. He draws and he gets a heal, so the 2 triggers do come down. Oops, Marcus does drop the one of his damage though, unfortunately. And then the Magus also gets the power bonus from having checked a trigger. So there's going to be a pretty big attack, but only 1 damage, so obviously nothing to stress about. Jerome now is ready to go into the Great, getting that second force marker, bringing back Neo Flame from the drop zone. Let's see what's going to happen. He basically has the Legion completed right now. He's going to attack with the unboosted Neo Flame, pretty common move. You know, usually just attack with Neo Flame unboosted, then attack with the Great, restand both, and then, you know, swing face, crit crit, easy game. So let's see, Neo Flame does take care of the Magus, the Great swinging with a 23k power, if I'm not mistaken, no, 28, because Neo Flame does give a plus 5k bonus to the Overlord the Great, so this is gonna hit for a 1 damage. Let's see, so he's going to counterblast 1, discard 2 Overlords, one of them being the Great, to stand the Great as well as Neo Flame. Swings with the Great once again, this time for only 1 drive check, so he's going to protect against that. He hasn't dropped a card yet for the cost, so let's see what Marcus is going to choose to drop here. He's debating on the perfect card, which is pretty ballsy, but let's see if he decides to drop that. Yes, he does. So ooh, he gets the 1 crit from the 1 drive. Let's see where he's going to put it. He's going to put it on the Neo Flame. Oh, he checked the second card there. The judges did point that out. I don't blame him because these cards are very new and, you know, it's nothing to be too stressed about. I'm assuming the judges just gave a warning and just allowed him to reshuffle because it was a reversible game state, so that's actually not too bad. So yeah, so now Jerome is resuming play. He's going to attack with a Neo Flame boosted by the Airmo. Should be a 31 if I'm not mistaken, or a 41 actually, because I think he put another trigger there this turn as well. PG's once again, and here he has the Burnout. Does he attack with it? I feel like passing turn is kind of good here. No, he decides to still swing and give Marcus the last damage. This is interesting. I feel like, you know, swinging there, you're kind of risking Marcus doing the same thing this turn again. So he can ride the Imperial Daughter as he does, counterblast 1, look at top 2, and then potentially call down the Magus once again to +1 again. Or, you know, like it's, I feel like giving the 5th damage for no reason isn't that worth it there, but I mean, we'll see what Jerome's plan is. Obviously, you know, it's still good to do that kind of thing just because it's, you know, if you push him to 5 and he doesn't heal, then it's going to be easier for you to finish off next game. So let's see how this is going to transpire. But let's see, there's going to be a 27. He does Soul Blast the grade 3, so he's not even aiming for the deer anymore. He's just attacking with the 27k. He gave the 6k to one of his units. I'm not sure if he gave it to the Vanguard actually. Ooh, Jerome's going to let that pass. We see a heal come down, another crit. It's going to be 3 damage damage, hitting Jerome in the face. Let's see how it goes down. There's a burnout. There's the grade 1 that's anti-axle, I forgot her name. And then he's going to attack with the Promised Daughter. Let's see how Jerome's going to guard this. His hand isn't looking too healthy, although, you know, he did check a plentiful amount of cards. Not necessarily making a super huge advantage or anything. It's kind of the same as Overlord, actually, except that it restands 2, which is, you know, 1 more attack and one less card in your opponent's hand. But let's see how this is going to go down. So Jerome is deep in thought. I'm sure he was hoping for a defensive trigger there because that would have helped him to survive, but he has 10k shield on the board. His hand is a little bit hard to see, so he drops the 15k to guard that, and then he drops the heal trigger to guard that one too. So he doesn't choose to intercept. I'm guessing he doesn't have the Great to re-ride. A Waterfall would be huge here, but I believe that Jerome does run the Waterfall actually. I think his deck list consists of 3 of the Greats, 3 regular Overlords, and 3 of the Waterfall, which is an interesting build. You know, I've seen a lot of different builds for Kagero over this weekend. You know, it's been the first weekend since release, and you know, I'm really glad that I'm able to provide you with this commentary of the first week of release for VEB06, and we can really see which of the clans are still the best. So Kagero proving to be a slight bit above the other clans in the set, so we don't see any Nova Grapplers in the top cut, or I believe we actually might have seen a Nova in the top cut, but Bermuda is still dominating like crazy. You know, Kagero took up a lot of slots in the tournament itself, so it had a high representation, and so it's not a surprise that one of the Kagero decks did make it pretty far. Ooh, Jerome drops down the Gaius. He's gonna try to push for game here, I think. The only problem here is, or actually it's not that much of a problem, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Marcus did heal out of the 5th damage. So now attacking with this Neo Flame, oh, he's even boosting the Neo Flame. That's quite interesting. He's attacking the Promised Daughter. Even with the boost, I feel like the boost could have left. Ah, no, but he wants to use the Airmo because now he retired something so he can draw 1 and counter charge 1. So that's also pretty good. I didn't think about that, but that is a pretty important play. He could now choose to use the other Airmo, but I'm guessing it's not that important. You'd rather be using that after the turn. So he could attack with the Great into the Vanguard, then restand the Neo Flame, potentially then attack with the Burnout into whatever, and then attack with the Neo Flame, try to retire that Promised Daughter maybe, draw 1 more card, and try to push through with that. So he's going to use the Gaius and the Great here both at the same time. So let's see how this is going to go down. So he counterblasted 2. Oh wait, did he counterblast for the Neo Flame here? I feel like there's no point to counterblast for Neo Flame unless you're actually using... oh no, I guess I see what he's trying to do. He's not using the Great here because he doesn't want to lose 1 card basically for the skill. Because, I mean, you drive check 2, drop 2, and then drive check 1. So you're actually minusing yourself, but you get 2 attacks out in exchange. He gets the crit here, which is pretty huge. He could just stack all of that on the rearguard burnout. It's too late to be using the, the Great. That has to be done on attack. So that's a bit of a problem, but, he checks 1. Let's see what he checks on the second one. Another crit, double crit here. Oh, wait, he's putting it on the Neo Flame? That's quite interesting. Oh, wait, the Great is at the end of battle. Or is he not? I'm not sure how this is going through now, but let's see. I think they're having to even call the judges to clear this up. Okay, no, that was my mistake. Oh, the Great is indeed at the end of the battle. You can use his skills, so he did use that skill properly. Apologies, I thought that it was an on-attack. Kind of like, I think I'm just too used to Detonics, so that was my own mistake there. So I think here, I'm not sure what the question is in that case, whether it's about trigger distribution or what was it, because I think it's quite interesting, but let's see. Okay, he's discarding 2 of the Berserks, which is fair, that's perfectly fine, and he already counterblasted, so he's going to be able to restand and stand the Neo Flame as well. Sadly, the Gaius is resting, but I mean, he's going to counterblast 2 again. Wow, he's using the Neo Flame skill twice in 1 turn just to get that extra crit, making sure that every single unit on the board right now has a crit. That's actually really huge. So he has a 30k Neo Flame, a 21, I believe 31k actually burnout with the trigger, And also he has to guard against this The Great, which is swinging for a 31 if I'm not mistaken. No, it would be 36. Again, I keep forgetting that Neoflame gives a 5k bonus, so that is still a pretty big attack. Does Marcus have a PG? It doesn't look like it. He's gonna, what is it, 2 to pass, which would be a no pass. He gets the Sable Drago Newt over there. He's gonna attack with the Burnout. He's gonna guard that with a heal trigger, and then he has a Neoflame left, but we can see a heal trigger in Marcus's hand, meaning that this Neoflame will not actually finish the game. Maybe Jerome is thinking, maybe he remembers that there should be another heal in his hand, and he wants to attack. Oh, he does want to attack the rear guard, because here he will be able to use the Airmo as he does to countercharge 1 and draw 1. That's actually really interesting, because now he has 1 more card in hand to guard any attacks coming through, and Marcus only has 1 damage to work with, unless he does have the Gemini in hand. So Marcus rides up, he gets the Protect, he used the Imperial Daughter. Isn't this the 4th Imperial Daughter of this game, or is it only the 3rd? I think it might only be the 3rd actually, but still pretty huge regardless. I don't think he has a second grade 3 in the soul, however, to use that deer that we can see, and I don't think he soul charged the grade 3 either. So let's see what he does. He doesn't have a lot of attackers in his hand. He drops, ooh, he drops that down. Oh wow, no, he does want to push. He does have 2 grade 3s in the soul, so he does want to push with deer, calling down all his triggers, just basically dropping everything. So that was pretty huge. And he has to discard the last card remaining in his hand, which is a Protect. He's going to check the top 7 for 2 crits. Does he find them? He does find 1. 1 is enough though, because here the crits don't even matter that much. What matters more is the huge buff that he's able to put on all of these units. He's still going to use Imperial Daughter's second skill to add an extra 6k power to the left deer. So here the Imperial Daughter is slapping with a huge amount of power. So this is what, 27, 32, 52 if I'm not mistaken, plus the certain crit at the top of the deck. So that is definitely pretty huge. Let's see how he's gonna play this out. So we have, how big is the deer on the side? It would be 17, 23, 43, which is pretty huge with a potential trigger, or 2 even. And then on the other side we have a 40k deer on the right, if I'm not mistaken. So Jerome, what are you gonna be doing in this situation? You almost had game there. A 30k shield coming down, which does put him up to 43, which is not enough, I think, because normally this is what, 32, 52, so yeah, they miscounted. There's the crit, and a second one comes down as well, and we're gonna be going to game 3. 1-1 in score. Marcus has recomposed himself. He's not missing those protects anymore. You know, he's got the whole game plan in his mind. He's ready to go. So Marcus finally wins with his OTT deck. Jerome, however, does have to stick with Kagero as he lost in the second fight, so he's not able to go back to Bermuda because he already won with it. So now he has to still play out with Kagero and try to win the game. So that is actually pretty huge. I believe that this tournament also used, you know, the typical best of 3 ruling that the loser goes chooses who, or like loser chooses who goes first. So this is gonna be pretty good. So let's see. Jerome is shuffling through, Marcus is switching decks here, and we're gonna be going into whatever Marcus has prepared as his second deck. So let's see what it's gonna be. It's still a mystery to us for now, but we see the Anj sleeves and we see him shuffling through the deck. It's gonna be Bermudas, and I can give it away already right now that this Bermuda deck is not gonna be the same as the one that Jerome has shown us so far. So you're really getting a good look into what the standard meta looks right now, because you're getting to see both of the prominent, super popular, very strong Bermuda decks, both in the Harmony build as well as the Highlander build, which Jerome, you know, showed us in a mere 4 minutes. And then Jerome, you know, apart from that, is also showing what the new Overlord support is showing to do for the clan itself. So that's definitely very cool. Marcus is now going to be mulliganing. Well, they're both mulliganing, but Marcus is looking to put back 3. Draws into a Caro. I could see that, but I didn't see what he put back there. So he's going to be shuffling through. Jerome isn't sure. Is he not mulliganing at all? No, he's not. He's keeping his whole hand. That is actually pretty big. Unless he mulliganed while I was looking at Marcus and I didn't notice, but I'm pretty sure he actually kept his hand, which means it potentially is a really good hand. So let's see how this is going to play out, because this is going to be a very important game for both players. We can see that Marcus does flip up the Bermuda starter. Here we can see the grade 1 comes down for Kagero, I need to check what this card is called because it's starting to annoy me. It is the Kimnara. I think I even mentioned at the start of the game. Marcus just rides up to grade 1, no fancy plays, no Lieselots or anything, you know, that's what you typically see from these melody decks. Jerome does ride into the Neoflame, calls down the Ermo, he wants to slap, and he calls down a Gaius here on the Vanguard too, so that's pretty interesting. Ooh, Marcus gets a heal, but I think this still, I don't think it hit. Does it hit actually? Oh yeah, it does. Sorry, that was my own miscalculation. But yeah, okay, so that does hit. Marcus does get rid of 2 triggers in his damage zone already. The Lieselot comes down as a ride target. Maybe that was his only, you know, his only grade 2 in his hand or something. He does unfortunately call the perfect guard from that skill, however, and Standard Bermuda doesn't have that many like bouncing effects yet, so that's, you know, kind of unfortunate because you can't just like bounce back this PG that you top deck called, but you know, it's not that big of a deal regardless. So let's see, he's gonna call down the grade 1. Let's see what he's gonna do. He's gonna just attack with it. This should be a 13k. Jerome does take it. Let's see if he's gonna, oh, he's reading the skill. Let's see, what does he want to do here? I actually forgot which one this was, which is, oh no, it is the one that if it hits, I believe, you can actually bounce it back to hand, which is pretty big, you know, but he chooses not to, so I guess he just wants to keep it. And Jerome drops the Kimnara, and there's a heal, which is pretty big, and that was a 1 to pass, so Jerome going to 3 damage already. That's actually kind of scary, so damn, that is pretty unfortunate. Maybe the 1 to pass was a little bit too ballsy, because right now he's on 3 damage, facing off against a deck that can make advantage for days, and he has to ride into regular Overlord first, so not the great, which is pretty interesting. You know, we can see that like this build is interesting to me, but I'm not sure, you know, I haven't tested myself how good Overlord is just yet, so that's kind of a question mark for myself as well. So he is retiring 1 with a Berserk. He used the Air Mode that he had on the board as well to countercharge 1 and draw 1 card. He also Soul Blasted the Neoflame, which is like one of the reasons why you would want to ride into that if you can't ride into the Berserk, because at least that way you do have the certain Neoflame into your in your drop zone, which you can call back with the Great. So he attacks once, and Marcus takes the damage. Jerome is now going to be attacking with the Overlord, but he's debating on attacking with the other Overlord first, I think. Checking Marcus's hand, but still debating. So would he use the Overlord skill here? Does he want to use the Gaius here too? That's another question mark. He does want to use it, so he's going to counterblast the Neoflame and put the Gaius into the soul using his skill, giving an extra crit to his Vanguard. I'm not sure if this is a 23 or a 33. I'm not sure if he used the Overlord skill, but he does have a PG, so I'm sure that Jerome was thinking, oh, you know, you top deck cold that PG with Lieselot, so maybe you don't actually have the PG in hand, but he did. So let's see, he gets the Buster and he gets the Waterfall, which might actually prove to be quite useful this game, because, you know, Guard Restrict is never bad, especially not in Standard. So Marcus rides into the Sonata. So this is a pretty important card for Bermudas, because you're able to Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, or yes, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, and you look at as many cards as you want, but first, actually, he's not using that skill. He's right now using the CL skill, which lets him on call, Soul Blast 1 and reveal a grade 3, look at the top 7 cards, and then add a melody from those cards to his hand, which is pretty huge, because, you know, you're able to secure a lot of important cards, a lot of important targets for your combos, etc., and able to actually, you know, just filter through your deck, which is another important factor. But now Sonata, as I was trying to explain, lets you Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and reveal cards from the top of your deck until you hit a melody, which is pretty huge because, again, it's another searcher, and we have quite a few melodies. You know, every grade 3 is a melody. The grade 1 does, oh no, the grade 1 doesn't actually have melody, she just searches for melodies, but, you know, you get my point. So it's gonna keep looking, reveals a bunch of triggers, and there is the Fine, or Fina rather. So that's going to be going into his hand, so he already plus 2'd by basically just counterblasting 1, soul blasting 2, which is a pretty good trade-off. The Fine does have a nice skill as well, because she gives intercept to all of your melodies, as well as plus 10k shield, which is pretty big. And if she's on the Vanguard circle, you can soul blast 2 to make all of your attacks that have to hit to go off. I mean, all your abilities that have to hit to go off can also go off if they don't hit. So that's pretty big, but for now the only effect that matters is the one with intercept and gaining 10k shield. So let's see how he's gonna play this out. So Marcus debating on calling anything else. The Sonata is putting in work here, but you know, she already plussed The only other effect she has is that every melody gains 5k, so that's pretty big. So he calls down a Sonata as well as a Kagero, and Kagero is going to be able to gain boost and also gain 5k every time she boosts, and pass that skill on to all melody cards. So we can see Jerome takes 2 damage since Marcus checked the crit, and here Marcus is thinking about the attack patterns, or I think he's asking for all the powers, because Kagero does add that extra 5k power. Also, you know, being able to boost is pretty huge, but unfortunately Jerome has to take that, and that's going to be game. So Marcus is the winner of the 2-deck VGCS for this time as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys appreciated this kind of look into what the VEB06 meta looks like, and I hope to see you guys again soon. So that's it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.